Guys, welcome to today's video. This is the video I've been putting off because I can't possibly choose a favorite. I'm even having a hard time with the best. This is, nonetheless, the best eyeshadow palettes of 2021. And like with the other videos, I have things that come into play when I'm deciding what a favorite is. And of course, my face is what comes into play. I'm 59 years old and my lids are crepey and I'm very hooded. And there are, believe it or not, there are shadows that don't work for hooded women or men because things kind of rub off because the skin of the hood is all day long, you're blinking. And there are things that don't work when you're crepey. Things like skip or they take forever to blend out. So that's a formula. And then we also talk about the color story, right? Before we get started, give this video a thumbs up. I keep on forgetting to say that. Also, I am on Instagram. It's the_hooded_lid, and I'd love to see you there. And if I start getting more subscribers, I will post more often. That sounds like I'm negotiating with a child. That's not what I meant. Before I talk about what my favorites are, it's important for me to tell you what I bought, I think, because maybe I missed something that's fantastic that I just didn't buy. So first, let me get my glasses, and we're going to go over the list. Let's get into it. The Natasha Denona Biba, most recent purchase, I think, wasn't released this year, so I'm not going to be speaking about it. The Viseart Cashmere, and the Viseart, I haven't done this video yet because I haven't edited it, but I think this is called Paris et Toi, and I do have thoughts on that. I actually like that a lot. The Fenty Bomb Posse, the Armani Eccentrico, the Dior Backstage Plum, the Westman Atelier Pods in Green, Natasha Denona Retro, Wayne Goss Pearl, Huda Wild Obsessions, I think in Python it's the green one, Pat McGrath Labs Utopian, Natasha Denona Zenon, Dior Birds of a Feather, Chanel Lumiere et Vibrations, Chanel Ducre et Serenity, I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, Kkw, going there, SVR, Camo, Patrick Ta Major Dimensions, Olivia Palmeiro, Au Natural, Dior 5 Colors in Copper and Dior 5 Colors in Toit de Jouy, Viseart Soleil La Plage, Kevin Aquan Something New, Hindash Beautopsy, Nars Summer Solstice Eye Palette, Keira Weiss Wanderer Kkw Maquillage, Viseart Love Letter, Chantecaille Butterfly, Natasha Denona Mini Love, Bobbi Brown Warm Cranberry, Bobbi Brown Luxe Metallic, Viseart Petite Fours from last year, not this year, I haven't bought those, the Chantecaille Zebra Viseart Violette, Dior 3 Colors, which I don't remember the color that it was, and the Natasha Denona Glam, which is a face and eye palette. So let's get into it. I think what I'm just going to do is go over each one. First, I can start with the worst of the year because it's so obvious to me what the worst of the year is, and that is the Viseart Soleil La Plage. Viseart makes beautiful powders. They're fantastic for crepey skin, and they last, they're easy to blend. I have nothing bad to say about the formula. The color stories, the artistry, putting together palettes lately has not been floating my boat. I find that the cool palettes are too cool. They are almost, well, they're gray with a little bit of something else in them, and they're very deadening on me. I find that the warms are way, way too warm, and they're not very good at getting something right in the middle, something that's truly neutral. I find with this size palette, which I believe is the Étendue palette, they usually have a couple of special colors, and I find if you just cover those special colors and you look at the rest of the palette, it's not unusual. It's chances are I already have it, or I already have something like it, and then they just throw in a couple of colors and your eye just goes to that and you think, ooh, how pretty, must have. I feel like they could do better. With this particular palette, I was very interested in those standout colors, the blue and the yellow, were just singing to me. I love blue and yellow together. I love yellow. And there was no payoff. The blue was awful, the yellow was awful. I was actually angry because there was so much potential here. So that, for me, was the worst palette of the year. And now let's just kind of hit everything, and I'll give you these mini reviews, I suppose. The Viseart Cashmere, I quite like it. It is cool, but there's also a couple of warm shades in there. And it's not too cool, but I think they still could make it a little bit more neutral. It's a useful palette, not a happy palette. Palettes, to me, they either make you happy and you just, or they're super useful. This falls under useful. The Fenty Bomb, a lot of people don't like this. I understand. I know that it's a little bit difficult to blend out, but I really like the color story. It's pretty much brown and some pink, and both are great for every single day, but it's like an extension of the pink theme that's been going on for a long time. I love the look that I got with this. It is a little bit more work, but I happen to like this palette. Now the Patrick Ta, that's one that I was thinking about when I bought the Fenty, because I love the look that I got from the Patrick Ta, but for me personally, there's pretty much one look you can get out of that. A $68 palette that provides you one look, it's not a good value for money. The bottom row, I liked the shades. There was, one shade I can think of that was kind of like, well, that's weird, but it worked. The top row is all shimmers and glimmers, and those don't work very well on me. I don't mind having a couple. In fact, I want a little bit, but I don't want a whole row. And in this, there was just one color that I really, really liked. And then they had two cream colors. The cream colors were fantastic. I said it before, I'll say it again. I would love to see an entire palette with those because they set. They're so easy to work with, so creamy and delicious. And then they set so you don't rub off. If you're hooded, you know what I mean. You kind of get this line right here. Beautiful, interesting formula, and I haven't seen anything quite like it. There may be something like it out there, but I don't think so. But for me, I can't not like half a palette, especially if it's $68, and especially if there's only one look you can get out of it. There's one color story, and that's it. Where I feel like Natasha Denona, which is less expensive, offers more choices, where you can get one of her midi palettes and get 3 solid color stories out of most of them and a huge variety of looks. So for me, that's kind of a fail. It's not a fail because they were bad. It wasn't a fail because I couldn't get a good look. It was a fail because it's $68 for one look for me. The Armani, where'd it go? This. So darn pretty. First of all, I think it's still available, and I link everything below. Not everything, just my favorites below and what I'm wearing on my face. But this is the Giorgio Armani limited edition. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And these are matte right here. So you could use those as blush. You can go Winter Wonderland with this because the colors are cool and icy, but there's also a beautiful gold here. And you can use most of these colors for, well, not all of them, but a lot of them, or a few of them, for highlighter. So you kind of have a lot going on here. I would love to do a second look with this, using most of this all over my face to see what happens. If you're interested, please let me know. This is a beautiful palette, and it is definitely one of my favorites of the year. It makes me happy to open it up. Not useful, but makes me happy. And when I say not useful, I mean it's not like an everyday go-to. I don't know what to wear, I'm going to pull to this. No. This is like, I want to be wearing something special, diaphanous, has a sheerness to it. Romantic. Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Like Midsummer's Night. That's what I think of when I think of this one. It's like every time I sit down, you guys, my neighbor's dog starts. I think she actually puts that dog outside because I shot this video yesterday. Yeah, it happens. And the dog was barking all through it. And here we are again. The Dior Birds of a Feather. Now this palette is not a useful palette, and it also makes me super happy. This is something I don't turn to very often, but darn, I loved the look that I got from it. I don't know if you'll see the shift in color here, but they're beautiful colors, a beautiful story. Dior reformulated their five colors about a year, I think, and a half ago, where they used to be, some of them are good and some are really, really bad. Now they're beautiful, and this I love. It was a limited edition. I will link it if I can find it below. But, you know, I decided in my video about blushes, several people said please mention the limited editions because in some countries the release dates are different, which is true. Canada might get something much later, and they might be able to find something there. And someone else said she'll go on, you know, eBay and find something if she really wants to. So, limited edition from Dior, Birds of a Feather, makes me happy. The Dior Backstage Plum. I really don't think I got a very good look out of this, and I do think it was 100% my fault. I don't feel that I gave it a fair chance. Here's the story with that one. I had shot that video right after I did the halo, and my face was still very swollen, and I probably shouldn't have been shooting for a couple of more days after that. And I just, when I look at it, I think it's just not my best. I need to break that open and try it again. I will say this. I have another Backstage palette, and it's beautiful for crepey skin. The one I have, I don't remember the name. I'll put it right here. It's a plummy kind of story, and it just blends like a dream. It's not spotty and patchy. It's not difficult. It doesn't rub off. It's very nice quality. This one, I think it was my mistake. Westman Atelier came out with another set of pods, so this is her third, and I have two. This one and the brown one, as opposed to the evening one. And I'm just so glad that she brought a little bit of color in. So she has one that's kind of black and white in evening, and then she has one that's brown, and I thought, okay, well that might work for the daily for me. I have to say I had a hard time with them until I bought her brush. There's something, it's better with a finger than any of my other brushes. When I bought one of her brushes, suddenly kind of worked for me. I really enjoy the one with the green, the new one, and it's a thumbs up for me. The Natasha Denona Retro. I love this palette. Now this palette is deceiving. I think most people would look at this and say, OMG, this is so cool. This is not going to work for my skin tone. And it's true, cooler colors and warmer colors both work better on certain skin tones, hair color, eye color, and then we just have our own preferences. For instance, colors like orange actually work well with my eyes, which are hazel. It makes them more green, but I just don't really love them all that much. I'll wear them once in a while, but it's the kind of thing where I get bored with orange pretty quickly. It's not going to be, you know, I'll look at it and think, okay, this looks great. It does a lot for my eyes. There's no problem with it. It's just I don't want to do it very often. And I know there are people who would look at this and think kind of the same thing. But here's the deal. This isn't as cool as you think it is. And I do have a video on this. I have videos on most of these. And I'm going to put together a playlist so you can just go to the playlist and find things. But right now, I'll just put that video right here. Here we have, these are kind of on the warm side right here, you guys. Yeah, they're not yellow, they're not orange, but they are most definitely warm. Then we have some taupey things going on here, which are more neutral to cool. And then we have the cool berries over here. And what's fabulous about the way she puts together most of her palettes is she understands tension. So you could do monochromatic, do all warms, or you can put warm with cool, which gives it some pop and some tension. I think this is brilliantly put together, and I have used this several times. In fact, I used it most recently in the video I did for blushes. And I had a shirt on that was kind of the same color and kind of did a monochromatic look, and I loved it. And I love this. This is up there for me, one of my favorites of the year. The Wayne Goss Pearl. So when I shot this yesterday, which I'm not going to use. I was wearing a different makeup look. I was wearing this, and I hadn't worn it really at all since I bought it. I had dipped into this color because it's a nice kind of taupey color that's quite neutral, and it's good for people who are hooded, just to try to give yourself a little bit of depth and dimension, and that's pretty much it. But you know what? I just decided this yesterday when I put it on. This is a darn good palette. This is my favorite of his palettes. I returned the other one that I got, and I didn't even try the blue one. I'm like, no. This one has better variety in the tones than some of his previous palettes, which are, why do we have these two shades? They seem like the same shade. Looking at this, in the mirror here, you would think, why are these two shades in here? They seem like the same. They're not. They're not the same. And they have different finishes, where this is kind of a sparkle finish and there's a bluish shift in there. This is really solid, and while I didn't turn to it at all, I'm going to be turning to it now. For a Goss palette, this is probably the best pick for me. A little bit of variety, not a lot. You're not going to get a whole bunch of looks out of it, and certainly not color stories, but there's enough differentiation between the colors to build some tension and get some dimension going. It's a win for me. Huda Beauty Wild Obsessions. I think in Python it's the green one. It's for fun. That's a palette that's just for fun. And it's a palette I might go to if one day I say, I want a green eye. I can pull out everything I have that has green in it and work it in. I'm glad I have it, but is it the best palette? No. Who are we kidding? Pat McGrath Labs Utopian Dream. So here's the thing with Pat McGrath Labs. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I have spoken about it before. Her formulas are beautiful. Her colors are beautiful. Her special shades are insanely beautiful. They are beautiful. Just looking at them, just swatching them, just having them in your hand feels like luxury. It feels like beauty. On my lids, it's a different story altogether because of, mainly, I'm hooded. So for me, I'm so hooded when my eyes are open, especially if I have mascara on, you cannot see what's going on my lid. And I cannot bring myself to bring sparkly stuff up here. It tends to make things come out more. In other words, makes my hood bigger, which is never a goal for me. In my heart of hearts, I feel like I returned mine because I felt, even though there's so many shades in here that are stunning, I can't warrant $130 for a palette I'm not going to use. And this is the brand. This is what she does. They're fantastical, they're magical, they're fantasy, they're not real life because there's not a lot of mattes in these, and I am someone who needs some mattes. And also I have to say, most of her palettes, when it comes to the matte shades and the satin shades, they're a little bit too dark for my comfort zone. I do feel that I have to be super careful with dark shades because they can make my eyes look a little smaller. So as much as I loved the colors, as much as I can appreciate the formula, I've decided I'm probably not going to buy this brand anymore because it's just not me. I can always hope that one day she will say, let me broaden my audience a little bit and put out something for women who don't want that much shine, who can't use that much shine, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's going to happen. No, it's not. So it was a fail for me. My hair, I'm looking at the monitor, it looks like I'm a strawberry blonde, which is interesting because I'm not. But it's cloudy, so yeah, I still haven't figured out the lighting situation. The Natasha Denona Zenon. This is kind of, I think you have to be quite skilled to execute with this one, and I'm not quite that skilled. I think I'm skilled, but I'm not that skilled. And I've been wanting something with a little gray and a little black because I think they can be very useful colors. But the truth is, I also bought the Biba at the last sale, and there's two grayish black colors in there that work so much better for my skin tone that I feel like I have it covered. The Zenon is very pretty, but it's there's a big learning curve with it, and it was a little too cool for me. So that was a little bit of a fail. Okay, the two Chanels, the Ducra et Serenity and the Lumiere et Vibrations. I don't really understand why they came out. I think they came out in summer because they look incredibly fall to me. So the Ducra, I hope I'm saying it right, is gray and plum and perfect for this time of year. Perfection. The other one also, Lumiere et Vibrations, also very nice. It's brown and you can do a daily look. When I first got these palettes, I actually pulled to that when I needed kind of a neutral brown quite often. But it has gold that gives you just a little bit of a je ne sais quoi, something you could wear to office party. Are people having those anymore? Or a Christmas party? A little bit of something without going too far out there. And the quality of Chanel, you always know what you're going to get. There's never any surprises. Well, I heard the limited edition, the celebration one, was not so hot. But, you know, from their regular line, I think they are beautiful palettes. Are they in my top 10? No. They might be too useful, if that is even a thing. The Kkw Camo Palette. I don't know that you can get this anymore because Kkw is apparently no longer. And I know a lot of people really don't like her. I totally get it. That whole family, when I think of that family, I don't think, ooh, quality. You know what I mean? I don't think they're thinking, I really want to help other women be their best selves. And this is going to do that. I think they're selling stuff to make money, period. That's it. And of course, there's a lot of other stuff we could say, but we're not going to. Instead, we're going to talk about this particular palette. The only thing I've tried from Kkw, this is a beautiful palette. It is. Unlike the Patrick Ta palette, there's more than one color story in here. I think there's at least 2 and maybe 3 directions you can go with this palette, and I really appreciate that. They work very well on crepey eyelids. They're easy to blend. It's solid. It's solid. I know that a lot of people have issues with the family. I get it. But let's separate who they are from what they've done with this palette. It's good. I actually like it a lot. The Olivia Palmeiro palette is, first of all, there's a lot of brands that call themselves luxury brands, and they're like Patrick Ta. That palette, I could squeeze it. You know what I mean? And it would indent when I squeezed it. That's not luxury packaging. It's a pretty color and it's shiny, but that doesn't make it luxury. The packaging for this is stunning. It is beautiful. It is weighty. It feels like luxury. It feels elegant. And you know what? The color story is pretty darn good, and the shadows are pretty darn good. It is a little bit expensive. I think it was about $56, and I think it was 6 shades or 8 shades, so not a lot of shades, but that packaging, you're paying for that. It's solid. It really, really is. It's not one of my favorites, but it's not something to be ignored. Okay, the 2 5 couleurs, they're fine. I feel like they're both warm. I feel like, I don't know, you know, their Cashmere palette, I think it's called Cashmere. Maybe that's just so perfect that they can't do anything else that's just spot on. But I feel like we can tone down the warms a little bit. I don't understand what they're thinking about there. But again, I do wonder if a lot of last year's releases were released at the wrong time or not released as planned because of the pandemic. I know that the Chanel limited edition blush I spoke about, it came with a palette which was available in other places in the world. I think it was available in Europe, for instance, but it wasn't available here. And I have a feeling it was a production issue. So, yeah, they're good. As I said, really enjoy their formulas, just color story. Kkw, something new. Nobody talks about Kkw that much, and these palettes, I know of another one this size, at least one, and that was a limited edition, and this may be a limited edition. But the next time he comes out with something, I'm going to buy it and review it again. And pay attention because these are very nice powders. There's a lot of colors in here, so you generally can get a couple of color stories going on. They blend well, they're great with gravies. It's really nice quality. The Hindash Butopsy. So first of all, let me just say, I adore Hindash. I think he is so cute. And so he seems to me, of all the makeup artists that I see, incredibly sincere. I really do. And then there's some people who pretend they're sincere. You know what I mean? He seems like, I just adore his personality. I won't get into it too much. He's handsome, he's adorable, he's talented, the whole bit. This palette for me, I did say in the review, and I still feel this way, it's a little bit intimidating. You cannot space out while you're doing this. You can't, I mean, there have been times when I've been doing a look, and I do this side, and then I pick up, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look the same as this side. I picked up from a totally different square. You can't be like that when you're using this palette. You might be, because it's ombre, each pan is ombre, you might be, you put something on and you're like, you know what, I think I'm going to go a little more towards the darker and put that on, and then you have to match it on the other side. You really have to understand colors, how to get the colors that are not provided. If I mix this color and this color, I'm going to get that color. And I'm just, it's a little bit intimidating. It's a beautiful palette. The quality is lovely, and the powders are lovely, and I believe they're actually not powders, they're pressed pigments. Beautiful, but if you are spacey at all, it's going to be a challenge. The Nars Summer Solstice palette, I said then, and I stand by it, there's nothing new in this palette. These colors are all around, but now they're all around in one place, and the shadows are beautiful, the colors are beautiful, the look is beautiful. I'm glad I have it. And it was a limited edition, but it might still be out. The Keira Weiss Wanderer. My biggest problem with this is, look, it's very, very small, and actually very, very handy if you travel. But if you have something that fits in the palm of your hand, yes, that's easy to travel with, but you are going to need brushes, right? But your brushes have to be very small because the colors, they are right next to each other, and it's very, very thin strips, and it's a little bit hard to work with, honestly. I think it should be bigger with bigger strips. I don't want fewer colors, but it actually reminds me of the Westman Atelier lip compacts, where my finger is a little too fat to make that work, and I have to go in with a brush. It's just, it's almost convenient, but it doesn't make it too convenient. So for me, that's a bit of a fail. The Kkw Camo, that is a beautiful palette. I think, I feel like a lot of Kkw products are limited editions, so they're gone, but if this is still around, beautiful palette, perfect for this time of year, and I think I'm going to bring it back and pull it out and put it on this messy, messy table because it's something I definitely want to wear this time of year. Love Letter from Viseart. This is a prime example of it's too cold. It's like gray with a little bit of violet in there, but not the right violet. Because gray with violet actually can be really, really pretty. Grays with purples, but these are very, very deadening and very, very kind of similar. When Viseart does palettes with these colors, they all kind of look the same. There might be a little more depth in one and a little more grayness in the other, or if you put them side by side, you see a difference that could make all the difference. Like one doesn't work and one does work just from this slight shift in undertone, but still not for me. Fail. The Charlotte Tilbury Butterfly is super, super beautiful. It's so pretty. I never used it again, but I regret that I haven't. Also, I have a lot, you know, but it's kind of like the Armani palette, where it's something that is special. It's not for every day, but it's so heartbreakingly beautiful and, to me, you know, feminine and special and just, you know, fairy tale time. It's lovely, and I do think it's worth having. The Natasha Denona Love palette, I don't even remember it. The mini palettes are actually very handy for people who get overwhelmed when it's something like this. It's too much. I don't know what to do. It's great for people who don't want to spend this much money. Generally, the formula is the same in the mini palettes, and generally you might be able to get 2 looks out of them, but they're not really put together for, oh look, 5 looks out of 5 shades. You know what I mean? It's for people who just want to stick their toe in, or for people who might want to use something like that for traveling. I don't remember. It was so unremarkable to me. It's fine. Was it in my top? No. The 2 Bobbi Browns, Warm Cranberry, wasn't cranberry. Please name things correctly. It kind of bothered me because of that. It was fine. It wasn't the right color. And the metallic, I don't get it. And I said it then and I'll say it now. It had a very interesting effect, but it did not look like what was going on in the pan. It was like a maroonish kind of color, and you put it on, and instead of the maroon, you're getting the base, the black base underneath it, kind of sheared out with some sparkles on it, and then there's some maroon in there. It's strange, and I don't understand the love for this. Maybe it was just mine, maybe it was just this color. It's interesting, and it would be great for, again, an evening out, a holiday party, something like that, but certainly not one of my favorites. The Chantecaille Zebra, same kind of thing. Actually, I kind of got the same kind of color. I didn't realize that they would be the same colors because so many companies, you know, photograph things with a lot of light and it looks different when you finally get it. It's far more effective than the Bobbi Brown, but the Bobbi Brown is more impactful because there's something more party about it. But I just think it's insanely overpriced for what it is. I get it. I don't mind spending money on makeup, as you know, but it's got to be worth my while. It's got to be something that is pow. I'm either going to use it a lot or it's perfect for something special, and not one of my favorites, not going to lie. The Viseart Violette, kind of a lot like Love Letter. I'll just leave it at that. The Petite Fours from last year, I like them actually. They had a warm one, they had a really warm one, they had a cool one. I had 4, and I think I did 3 videos, and they're great. It's 4 shadows, 2 mattes, and 2 others, and they're ideal. They're really ideal for people who just get overwhelmed. 4 shades. It's not hard to do. And then this year, they only have 1 matte and 3 specials, and the colors are beautiful, but I just knew I'm not going to wear these because it doesn't have enough matte for me. The first ones from last year, they're oftentimes on sale on the Viseart site, so, you know, take a look, get on their mailing list, maybe, maybe not, but check them out once in a while. They're usually on sale. They could be on sale right now. I like them. I think they're really solid, especially for beginners or somebody who just is more into complexion and blush and lip, and where eyes, they just don't even want to fuss anymore. Ideal. I go through my thumbnails for these videos, and I just look at the thumbnails and write down what it is, which means I miss stuff. And sometimes I do space out. And I totally miss this. I don't know how it happened, but the Tom Ford came out with 2 palettes about 5 months ago, and one of them was denim something. There's a lot of people out there in the YouTube world who love Tom Ford. So special, so wonderful, so this, so that. And I look at the palettes and I'm like, so what? I feel like if you have one, you have all of them. They're all kind of the same. Yes, some are warmer, some are cooler. I bought one last year at the sale, and I loved the look. The look was very, very pretty, but it wasn't special, and I bought it because another YouTuber said that particular palette was special. And then somebody told me the special ones are the wet dries, the ones that have the TF initials embossed in them. Anyway, I'd been playing around with Tom Ford. I'd been deeply unimpressed for the money, and this one I really had a problem with. I'm like, well, it's okay, but it's not $80 for 4 shades okay. It's fine. And then the Dior 3 colors. This is very, very interesting. I remember doing a video on this, and when I got to the dark color, I couldn't get it to transfer onto my eyes. But what? I even used the sponge applicators, which are generally really good at picking it up and laying it down. And finally, when I got into the sponge, I got a little bit of something. And I just thought, this is weird. This is just weird. And I thought, the shades I've kind of seen before, but I didn't know where. I felt like I probably have these, but I didn't go through my makeup to figure out where I had them. And months later, I remember, you know, being on my page and I saw that thumbnail and I thought, you know what, that was a very pretty look. It was. Yes, it didn't perform very well, but the end result was very, very pretty, and I think I want to buy it again. But it was a limited edition and it was sold out. A lot of companies, a limited edition means until it sells out 3 years later. I really can't figure out what the story is with that. But with Dior, it seems to be limited edition, and Nars the same thing. It's pretty much gone and you can't find it again. And this is oddly something that I regret returning and tried to get again. Not because it was a beautiful powder, because it was a beautiful look. And it's strange, I know. And you guys, the other one I don't have up here, but that is the Natasha Denona Glam. I love this palette. This is in my top, 7, top 10. It is probably top 3. Yeah, top 3. I have to say it. It has a great color story for every single day. You could do a whole week out of that palette, or I could, and be completely fine with it. I wouldn't feel bored. It just gives you the right choices. I got the color light. I probably wear the color dark except for the highlighter, I think. There's a blush and a highlighter and then eyeshadows. And I just love this palette. It's not fireworks. It's not special. And yet, it both makes me happy and it's useful. And it's weird that a palette does both. The quality is always good with her. This is a weird year for Natasha Denona, I have to say, because she did come out with stuff that I didn't even want. I didn't even buy it for the channel to do a review. I was like, what are you doing? Because last year, she had done, the year before this year, she did Love, which I loved. She did the Bronze palette. She did the Glam palette. She just knocked it out of the park. And then she did the Trichrome. I was like, I'm not sure about that. And then she did the one I call Cirque du Soleil, but it's something else. With all these crazy colors, no mattes. It's just about insanity. And I'm like, what is she doing? She had such a good year. And now she's like, screw that. I'm going to have some fun. I didn't really know. I thought it was a joke when I first saw it. So she has had misses for me that I didn't even try. The retro kind of makes up for it. I really, really like this. And you guys, that's it. That is my ranking of the things that I bought. I know it's kind of long. That's why I've broken these down. And yeah. Oh, this is not the retro palette. This is the Biba palette, which I also bought this year, which I also love. And these right here, fantastic. So much better than the Zenon for me. All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart. And I'm wishing you good health.